one. Misaka, the tank shot caller drafter for SPT.
Yeah, that's usually Hugo's role, you know, to take care of the enemy warriors, at least to some extent, because he loves those tank trading heroes. He's an absolute beast on Malthael, although he hasn't really shown us lots of that up to this point. He's good at Leoric, as we saw here, one of his most played heroes as well. He used to be the Illidan god, but had to, you know, let go of that title and pass it on to Bruiser from the A-team, who currently is the only one to have the guts to draft it on a regular basis. And here comes the best part, get away with it.
Yeah, exactly. As we do see with the first picks, though, SPT, they're not looking to let the one get away with anything, as they are starting off with their old stomping ground. It is the battlefield of eternity.
Man, Tetra, can I tell you how much I love this broadcasting day here already? Not just because you're with me as per usual, but also because we're seeing maps that we haven't seen all day long yesterday. BOE, Volskaya, it feels good to have a little bit of a fresh breeze in this HGC China broadcast.
Variety is the spice of life, and that's why Heroes has multiple battlegrounds, because it's cool. See you, White Maid. Not happening this time, as we see SPT looking for their second ban. Maev is still available, so there we go. Removed, which means on Battlefield of Eternity, Hanzo is available.
Hanzo is available.
Hanzo is no longer available.
I mean, if you're inviting Hanzo to the party and you're actually giving him the first invitation, he will show up immediately on Battlefield of Eternity, because he is still just so good when it comes to racing PvE objectives, right? Now, what heroes are there in the game that can kind of, you know, keep up with his clearing speed? One hero that is pretty much old school and traditional would be Greymane. We have only seen one Greymane in the entirety of HGC China up to this point, and a newer version, the new kid on the block, is Raynor, Tetcher.
If he goes for his Exterminator talent at level 1, the theory is that in a vacuum, Raynor might win that race. But he's taken Exterminator, which is not ideal for most people.
Yeah, it's not like, unlike Hanzo, who is perfectly fine at his max power level with going for raw PvE damage, right? Raynor has to sacrifice a little something. He has to sacrifice either, like, hero damage most essentially, right? With Ace in the Hole, he deals extra damage onto enemy heroes whenever they're slowed or stunned. So, with that strength, one of his fortes not being available, he's still a good hero, don't get me wrong, but his team fight potential is severely crippled.
Karazim makes it into the draft, even more Immortal Race, making up for the fact that Blaze is on the board. Great protection for Hanzo, with significantly weak Immortal Race potential. So the Karazim will make up for that at least a little bit.
True.
Garrosh removed by SPT, as they are first pick after the ban phase, so they can pick up the Muradin themselves, or maybe even someone like a Johanna. I think Muradin is significantly more likely, though, because of Misaka.
Yeah, very true. Misaka loves his Muradin. It's one of his most played and most successful heroes by far. Can I just tell you, Tetra, how much I like this drafting approach from TheOne, by the way? Just slowly but methodically eliminating one good core Immortal Racer after another. So Sergeant Hammer is good. They're basically going for double Terran here at this point. Double StarCraft 2 Terran. But Hammer, while she's great at zoning out people, she's not the greatest racer still.
So what TheOne have done is what SPT have done is they've gone double auto attacks, but they've forced TheOne into a Johanna, so they forced them into a blind hero. So we need to see how effectively TheOne can capitalize on that. You know what I wouldn't hate? Cassia.
I would love that, actually. Now that you mention it.
Junkrat's Disruption is still pretty good. It's not going to capitalize on the blinds, but it will certainly be able to get a little bit more disruption, as Cassia's much longer range.
So Cassia with Johanna, of course, would have had a beautiful synergy, right? Especially with Johanna very likely going for a blind build with that level 7 talent, extending the duration of her blinds with auto attacks. That could have also meant that Cassia will receive bonus damage for a longer period of time, right? So Cassia, as you said, would have been a great pick, but the Junkrat in its own way has a couple of charms that we cannot really neglect, right? We saw Junkrat in Series 1 absolutely crushing House, and Junkrat against Sergeant Hammer is also nothing to be sneezed at. He's got good dislocation. If Sergeant Hammer is sieged up, you can bounce her back. Suddenly, Sergeant Hammer is out of range of the Immortal, for example, out of range of your teammates. Pretty cool, and even the Riptire as well against a static target can be quite frightening.
And it can. So the Riptide, we'll have to see how effectively they're going to be able to use that. Who knows, maybe we'll see something cheeky like a rocket ride that we saw once at the Eastern Clash for reasons. That was entertaining. It was an entertaining game. But I doubt we'll see that. I mean, in theory, Rocket Ride could be decent against Hammer. At least you're going to force her to one siege and then have to make your way all the way back from across the map.
I mean, Sergeant Hammer, if you planned Rocket Ride on her, she would have to unsiege immediately because otherwise she would also take all that damage from the grenades, right, that get left behind when Junkrat dies.
So here's the strat. You Rocket Ride, then CC Hammer once she's unsieged and can't use siege tactics anymore.
Oh, man. Oh, next level. I like it.
I mean, it's easily countered just by siege tacticsing before you unsiege, but...
True. I mean, you also get 50 armor from that, so you're probably just going to tank through all that damage anyways.
True.
So, yeah.
I mean, you still want to move, because otherwise you're sitting in, like, the total mayhem at the end of the Rocket Ride as well.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, whether or not Junkrat is going to go for that exotic Rocket Ride remains to be seen for now, though. We're going to dive into the action here on Battlefield of Eternity. Production crew is getting you all fired up with that beautiful new battle music. And here goes the action. On the left-hand side in the blues, we're going to see the team known as TheOne with Hugo, Keshi, the new player, Meng, CJZ, and Huhu.
And on the right, it is SPT with Lucky, Melody C, Misaka, Soap, and ZZH.
All right, so the current champions against the runner-up, if you will, from those playoffs finals of last phase, which we had all anticipated TheOne to win quite handsomely, but no, SPT showed up just in time to revive their former glory and showing everybody that they are currently, at least with the title, the strongest team in China, where they're still the strongest team in China right now with Beyond the Game just showing up big time. That is, of course, another topic to talk about.
We can bring that up in later series, as we've already had BTG today. As for now, SPT, it is their turn to try and reclaim their title at the top. And TheOne, they also want to repeat their performance from last phase, where they had a massively dominant start to the phase.
Yeah.
As both these teams have been able to accrue at least a point in the form of SPT, 2 points in the form of TheOne. They're looking for more. As right now, Hugo might become first blood.
Oh.
Great dwarf toss by Misaka. First blood achieved by SPT.
Misaka, an absolute legend here, predicting as to when Hugo would use the jet propulsion and as to which direction he would use it in, and immediately shutting him down, denying him the escape tool. And that was just really cool to see. Another cool thing to see here is Meng consistently using concussion mines on a sieged up Sergeant Hammer. Before level 4, she won't have access to the siege tactics, as Tetra alluded to earlier. So right now is the best moment to actually mess her up a little bit.
SPT take position on the mercenary camp. They will be able to burn that down quickly. TheOne, they're responding in kind in the top lane. Grat doing the exact same thing, taking control of that.
Yeah, they're
It's
trying.
scouted. He sees it.
It's scouted. The blinds are good, but yeah, there's 4 members of SPT and only 2 of TheOne, so there's nothing to be done about this. But they mirrored their opponent's actions and took this bruiser camp in, this range camp in the top lane.
TheOne could have capped that, but they would have likely lost Huhu to do it. If Huhu had gone onto the point, used Condemn to pull everyone into the center, meaning that there was no way they could dodge the concussion mine, which would push them off the point, then they would have been able to cap that pretty easily. But, like I said, Huhu would have almost certainly died, because he would have had to have used Iron Skin to get on the point in the first place, so he would not have had any kind of escape, unless he was very lucky with how the Junkrat concussion mine pushed people away.
All right, let's take a look at that bruiser timing. We see the Fallen Shamans being taken by TheOne. Are they going to actually stall it out a little bit? Oh, they're not actually. They're taking it right at the bat. I think SPT takes a little bit longer on purpose, willingly here, to maybe give their own mercenary camp a little bit more weight and pressure behind it, because the later you take it, the longer, or the later your opponents have to deal with it, right? So that means you're going to get the edge potentially on that Immortal.
No Sledgehammer this game for Misaka, sticking with that Thunderclap, that Thunderburn. So they're going to be able to just burn through this minion wave very quickly here.
Did we see him pick it before, the Sledgehammer, at the Eastern Clash, or...?
No, but we've seen lots of people picking it in multiple regions at this point. It's becoming very popular on this map.
Crazy, eh? That used to be one of the most old-school builds we had in Heroes of the Storm. The full Stormbolt Keshi in trouble. But no cooldowns left here. No CC left available for SPT to lock them down.
Good knockback onto Huhu, who is tanking through, at least for the moment, trying to cause some kind of delay. In the meantime, there is a pretty significant lead coming out for TheOne while this has been happening.
The vision is good. Sonic Arrow doing its job here, although it was nerfed a few months ago, decreasing the vision radius. It's still a pretty significant tool here. You see a good root coming in here from ZZH as well. Keshi once again in trouble. Now Fufu is going in, trying to group up and slow as many enemies as possible. Gets actually knocked back into the stunning zone of the Immortal, and is he going to fall as a result from that? Iron Skin is still available. Dodges the root.
Yep, Iron Skin allows him to walk through that as Misaka takes a lot of damage, as does the second. Good knockback from Sergeant Hammer, saves ZZH. Raider was burning through the Immortal on the other side, but he's come down to join his team for the defensive player as Huhu is going to get taken out here.
The power of Deckard Cain, once he is close and sticks close to his teammates, those potions are going to come with a very short cooldown. That's exactly what saved the life of Murden here. In the meantime, we see Meng in trouble. Body blocked and taken out, but so is Sergeant Hammer. Both teams trading and exchanging blows here.
It is, but it is all about the delay here. Keshi, though, has been sneaking this away in the back line. ZZH is going to be the one to try and zone him away. Blaze from one side, ZJZ from the other. Keshi from the third side. As they're trying to protect this, finally Johanna comes up, and with Huhu here, they will easily finish off this Immortal. But Lucky was able to burn through the shield so slowly, though. That is the issue of running Ace in the hole. If he'd taken Exterminator, his team would have won that. They would have won the Immortal phase there, but once those team fights happen in the later game, he would have wished he'd had Ace in the hole again.
It's a very, very safe assumption to make here, Tetra. I think with Exterminator, he might have been able to get this Immortal indeed, because you can see how low this shield already was.
Graduating range coming in here for Sergeant Hammer. Curiouser and curiouser. We'll see how well that works out. Siege Tactics already used here. Begins burning through the Immortal, even dropping a little bit of damage onto the team fight that's happening as we see the Rainer taken out.
Another one bites the dust against Junkrat, who is ever so good at dislocating people and isolating them with a good concussion mine. And I think, Tetcher, the increasing range here for Sergeant Hammer might be a response to that, right? So if you have a longer range and you get knocked back from that concussion mine, you still might be in range to deliver that one deciding auto attack. So maybe that is the reasoning and the thought process behind Melody C's talent build on the Sergeant Hammer. Because as you said, graduating range is not really what we're used to seeing a lot.
There's also the factor that when you're against a scatter arrow, the closer you are to the bounce point, the more likely, the more arrows you're going to be hit by. Further back you are, the more the arrows spread out, less arrows you're going to be hit by.
Also makes it much harder for Karazim and Blaze to actually reach you. So with such an aggressive team that is able to dish out huge amounts of burst damage in a couple of seconds, I think staying safer here as Sergeant Hammer with Melody C might be the way to go here. For now,
you could argue the same. Sorry to interrupt. You could argue the same effect could be had by a stutter step, by taking the hover siege, being able to reposition yourself. The same effect could be gained from that.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's actually compare the overall combat efficiency of that graduating range to the more standard hovering mode, hover siege mode. In the meantime, we see the bottom lane, Urel versus Blaze, the same old duel. Nothing major happening up to this point, but still a pretty significant lead for TheOne, as you can see here, almost an entire level. They're definitely going to have their heroics up sooner. And that could really allow them this short time window, to get the short time window to maybe make something happen here. He in trouble, man. Hufu takes a lot of damage here.
It's weird how we keep pronouncing it differently every single time. Like,
every single time, right?
We have Hufu, he. I mean, we've made him sound like an owl at one point. It's
it's just so hard to make this transition, right, from an E to a U in your mind as a non-Mandarin speaker. So we apologize to Huhu if we seem to have trouble and difficulties pronouncing his name 100% correct.
I mean, if he's not annoyed at us at this point for butchering his name for a year and a half, then I think as we see Keshi pulling back, taking a little damage, arrow, and Muradin is down.
Wow, the CC chain was just on point here. Beautifully done, and that is the problem of a warrior who is usually so tanky like Muradin, who tries to go for those solo delays, solo stalling moments. If the Blessed Shield connects and some follow-up CC is just right, then the 7-sided is a great tool to have to blast the enemy tank to pieces.
Very effective indeed. Yavrel with the harassment in there, Meng backing up, as he was also eating a lot of hits.
Muradin is back now. Techer, Misaka already ready to rejoin his compadres in the battle. Let's see if he's actually going to make it in time. Hanzo is still trying to get a little bit of poking done. But look at Hammer, sieged up and ready to go. I think TheOne needs to add a little bit of speed here to their racing progress. Look at the health. It's dwindling and shrinking.
Yeah, no one's really dealing with Hammer right now. And Hammer, the fact is, graduating range is at max range right now. So if the fight happens on this side, then she's going to be able to join in. But instead,
going to get it.
Wrapping around and they're going to try and dive by looks of it. Riptire comes in. Big damage on the Immortal and the kill onto Raider. Hammer finishes off the Immortal, but in the meantime, a huge dive. Actually, no, TheOne finished off the... No, it is Hammer. Yeah, TheOne finished off the Immortal. He gets sniped by Keshi here, who looks for more, but there's 3 versus 1. He can't afford to dive it.
Perfect calculations here by TheOne. Not only do they snatch away that Immortal that looked like such a safe one for the Super Perfect team already, but they also get those kills against Muradin and Raynor, most importantly. We take another look at that replay here. Beautifully done here. Keshi in a good position here. ZZH in trouble, needs to actually save himself before his allies, and that is exactly why Muradin couldn't get another one of those much-needed potions here. Another auto attack coming in from Keshi on that Hanzo. Takes Muradin out, and this is starting to get a little dangerous here for SPT if they lose the tower line here.
It could indeed, as TheOne begin to move forward. You can see here a couple of their members just still mounted, not wanting to get themselves caught out of position. Looks like they're pretty comfortable, having taken down the front wall. Almost most of it. A tower survives. They're pretty comfortable to back up and leave that amount of damage done.
Once again, we have to emphasize the combat efficiency up to this point from Junkrat. Off Junkrat, he's so good when it comes to finding these openings. Riptires have been absolutely on point as well. And on top of that, we also have a very dangerous support. You're normally not used to, running away from an enemy support when you're Sergeant Hammer, when you're Raynor, but with Karazim in the mix, you can pack quite a bit of a punch here. And same can be said about Muradin. He needs to be super careful not to get caught in these 7-sided strike combos over and over again.
Yeah, no support has ever had the amount of single target pressure, I would argue, in terms of just straight up kill potential that Karazim has.
Yeah.
He's been able to just blow people up. Old Rhaegar was pretty close with Feral Lunge, where you could pretty much 1v1 anyone in the game. That was pretty fun. Back when Feral Lunge was its own separate talent. But other than that, maybe Divine Storm Uther with sprints from back in the day. But other than that, pretty much no one else who has this combination of single target pressure, kill potential, and decent healing.
And then, of course, you combine that with the fact that he's got superior mobility as well, right? With the triple dash, the lightning speed at level 7 is super good for that. In the meantime, though, we saw a little bit of a sneaky move here coming in from Sergeant Hammer, stealing that top fort under the noses and eyes of TheOne. Pretty cool to see that. So that's a pretty significant chunk of experience that they just managed to get themselves. Can they actually get 13 though before they get engaged upon again? We see Raynor going for that Hyperion, by the way, trying to go for a little bit of extra zoning and AoE damage.
They're about to hit level 13 finally as SPT, who were winning the very early game, massively losing the mid game. Let's see if they can start to pick it up in the late game. Crushing Mine lands. Siege Tactics was burned, and Melisi quickly boosts at the last moment, realizing that the mine was not burnt while Siege Tactics was active, so he needed to move, and he was able to dodge it.
This could be the signal for TheOne, though, to actively engage onto Melisi here. No longer does he have the speed boost, no longer does he have the Siege Tactics. Probably off cooldown now, because the peeling and zoning was just too good by SPT. Look at that. They're still fighting this 4 versus 5 here, by the way. Raynor is still busy in Occupy, dealing damage onto the Immortal of TheOne. Has actually been doing a pretty great job at that. SPT, if they maintain that strong defensive position, might even be able to steal it away from TheOne this time around.
They're looking pretty good as the Hyperion comes out for the attempted race. Good damage coming in from TheOne, though. Ardent Defender is good, but with Deck and Kane already gone, the healing output for everyone else is going to be a problem, especially this Sergeant Hammer, who is getting completely zoned away.
Yeah, what are you going to do right now? Raynor and Sergeant Hammer, they look absolutely helpless here. Without the help of their support, there's nothing they can do. Misaka, on the other hand, also needs to be careful. 7-side is not ready, but still, neither. Oh, actually, Avatar was ready, so my mistake. But look at the damage already dealt onto this bottom keep as well. SPT is bleeding from multiple parts of their body at this point. They're definitely going to lose this keep. If I were TheOne, I would actually continue this siege.
Yeah, I'm curious why they're not. Like, they had the potential, I guess, because everyone's alive and they didn't want to get caught out.
Right? They have great
Maybe,
sieging
yeah,
actually
they
with
should.
Junkrat, Hanzo, Blaze.
I guess because there was Lornado on the board and they didn't want to get themselves
Maybe,
caught
yeah.
out. That's the logic I've got.
Anyways, they're going to get a keep one way or the other because that Immortal, while it's not the healthiest of Immortals I've ever seen, it's probably going to be enough still to get this top cube, right? And bottom is going to fall sooner or later. I think Junkrat is actually preparing himself to actually take that while the entirety of SPT is going to be occupied and busy defending top. So with Junkrat's superior sieging and range, it should actually be pretty easy for him to get that. And the double keep play might be a reality here for the one. Nope, he's actually joining the fight anyways.
He is jumping over Yarel to get there. So he's taking some boost once again, having to be used by Melody C, who re-sieges up. Still quite close to the keep, thinking they can burn down the Immortal, which they can. And if the one choose to engage, then he would still be in range for that extra graduating ranged damage. But with that, both keeps survive, and both aren't looking great.
Yeah, they're pretty battered and damaged already. Let's see how long SPT is going to be able to keep those alive, because at any given point now they're going to have to expect a Junkrat, maybe a Hanzo, or even a Blaze to just backdoor that one with their long-range abilities. Look at that mercenary camp. The one is posturing up. They're trying to take this 16-14. They have a talent advantage. Still, it is an ambitious and risky play.
Ancient Blessings was used. That is the go button for SPT as they're able to take the camp. Ardent Defender dropped while at full health. Soap a little bit ambitious there as they turn around trying to get in range. LDC was not here. He's down on his team though as a beautiful scatter arrow comes out. Hyperion drops on the other side as Soap is actually able to tank through it, as is Misaka. And SPT, they drive back the one, grab their own camp, and most importantly survive, but unfortunately, no kills, no comeback XP, despite burning basically everything to get it.
Absolutely. They used a lot of cooldowns to just desperately get this one kill, maybe those two kills. And now with those mercenaries soaking up the keep damage, I think it is only a question of time until the one will get this keep here at some point. They have so many tools available. Look at that. Tetra Riptire, Dragon's Arrow. The 7-side is going to be back soon as well. So I think they're definitely trying to take it. If they even get a kill or two, they might go for the core.
A little bit of pressure onto Hugo as Yarel dives deep, forcing back Hugo with the cleansing touch, like you said, having to be used. And again, SPT, their fort stands tall, as does bot. They were able to clear that, which is why Hammer was late to this defense. Somehow, these forts are alive, so no catapult pressure.
Yeah, which is huge, you know. The moment you lose keeps on BOE, it's going to be super hard and super annoying to stay in the game, to actually maintain the skirmishes in the middle, to, you know, potentially get an Immortal. But as you said, they're still alive. They're bleeding, but they're still going. So,
slightly mispositioned there, because in the boss stun, just by the edge of a tread.
Still no 16, man. They really, really wanted this talent, but I think at this point, SPT doesn't even have a choice. They need to keep the team fights running. Otherwise, if they disengage here, the one is going to get an Immortal, and they're going to get two keeps, maybe even the core. They need to fight the uphill battle.
And Hammer sieged up in a defensive position and immediately just ate every single bit of poke that the one had and was forced to unsiege again. Now Soap, nice little bait for the concussion mine.
Man, all that poke, all that damage. Misaka is never going to have his trade available to heal up. Diving in.
Tornado is a pretty decent zoning tool, but they're able to just run past it. No one getting caught out here. You can see at the top of your screens and also on your main screen the health bars. SPT, despite having the defense position, they're just getting poked down.
Yeah.
Junkrat and Hanzo are just dropping far too much damage for them to handle right now, as Hammer is desperately trying to race while this team is just uses all of their hit points to maximum efficiency to try and sustain this. But Blaze especially consistently burning this down. They're not even eating the Junkrat harass anymore. Usually they will try and block them to prevent more damage going on to the Immortal, but right now this isn't about winning the Immortal, it's about damage control.
Yeah. Like, Hugo and Blaze is literally burning the Immortal down with his oil spill and the incinerator. So nice to see that. Yeah. And I mean, SPT, they're just desperate, right? Eventually, they're going to have to retreat. They're going to have to pull back. They were so hoping to get that 16 in time there, but unfortunately, it was not meant to be. And now look at that. We have a 30% shield Immortal. The keep just fell as well to that last minion. It seems like fate has sided here with the one to take down SPT. Nothing is really going their way. The question is, though, can they hold? They are bleeding. They're trying to stabilize desperately, but the one here, this might be the final push if they just find an opening themselves.
They're certainly going to try and move in. Armor applied by Yarel. This keep is basically just a tiny obstacle for the Immortal. Takes an auto attack and a little bit of Blaze Fire to take down, but it does give them enough time to get the shield off the Immortal as it begins to move onto the core. Armor applied to early seas, repositions. Stuns coming out. Muradin going down as Bunker is used here. They might just use this to burn down the core, but instead they're looking for kills even.
They're looking for kills. They're trying to get them. Sergeant Hammer is low as well. Takes so much damage from Junkrat grenades. Meng, though, maybe overstaying his welcome. He's about to fall as well. Zones out the enemy team with his dying breath, but it is not enough. SPT falls to the hands of the One. And without really breaking much of a sweat, the team that fell to them in the playoffs last phase takes the lead this time around. The One, no, Battlefield of Eternity.